Well, as the build-up to next week's election continues, I spoke a short time ago with the New South Wales Treasurer, Matt Kean, where we began on the issue of GST and how big a slice of the pie New South Wales will be getting, according to figures released today.
We've just got the GST relativities, and New South Wales will receive $1.7 billion to ensure that we're no worse off under the deal that was struck a few years ago for Western Australia. But we know that that $1.7 billion, which is vital for us paying our nurses, providing frontline services and helping deliver infrastructure, is under threat. We know it expires in 26-27, and what we don't know is what Labor's position is. Are they going to extend the no worse off guarantee here for New South Wales and all the states and territories, or are they going to cut it? And we also need to know whether Chris Minns is going to stand with the people of New South Wales to ensure that we're no worse off under the GST guarantee, or is he going to stand with his mates in Canberra who are refusing to say whether or not that money will be cut?
All right, and what's the total figure that the $1.7 billion tax onto?
Well, it's an enormous figure. I don't have those numbers in front of me, but the no worse off guarantee, which is under threat and hasn't been guaranteed past 26-27, is $1.7 billion. So the New South Wales government will continue to stand up for the people of New South Wales, arguing that we should get our fair share of GST, including the no worse off guarantee.
Was Scott Morrison planning to extend it past 26-27?
Well, that's what we were arguing for, and Scott Morrison was the one that put the no worse off guarantee in place in the first place. So what we're calling for is the Labor government to ensure that New South Wales is going to be no worse off as it was under the coalition government. That's what we expect. That's what we'll stand up for.
One of the reasons you've come on with this is this attack from Mark Latham, the One Nation leader, on you on last Thursday's afternoon agenda. Let me play you some of it.
Well, we're not allocating preferences to anyone. We regard Matt Kean's Liberal Party as woke and left-wing and ineffective as the Labor Party and the Greens. I mean, you've got senior Liberal Party ministers like Kean and Hazard and Speakman and Stokes who might as well join the Green party room. And a lot of voters out there don't recognise this party anymore. It's certainly no longer the party of John Howard or Nick Greiner. It's lurched way to the left because of the influence of Kean and of course, the mad rush to 100% renewables. The Kean plan has sent up electricity prices and also put the state at risk of blackouts.
All right, Matt Kean, what's your response to that?
Well, what else would you expect from Labor Latham? I mean, this man puts on a pantomime that he's a conservative, but he's no conservative. He ran against Australia's greatest ever conservative Prime Minister, John Howard, and tried to stop him. He's now running against our conservative Premier in Dom Perrottet, and him saying he's not going to allocate preferences to the New South Wales Liberals means that he wants Labor to win. And I guess that's what you'd expect from the former leader of the Labor Party. A vote for Latham is just the same as a vote for the Teals. It's a vote for Labor. That's what you'll get if you vote for Mark Latham.
All right, well, there's no doubt, though, you've gone as hard as you can for that Teal vote on issues like the environment and women's policy. Will that work? Will that save some of your safe seats, or all of your safe seats, should I say?
Well, we're not taking any vote for granted or any seat for granted. We're working to ensure we represent the diversity of all of New South Wales, and only a coalition government can do that because only we've got a long-term economic plan to ensure that we're able to deliver vital services, build infrastructure and continue to raise living standards and grow the prosperity of the people of this state. All we've heard from Chris Minns is a bunch of motherhood statements and a plan to blow a big black hole in the state's budget by removing the wages cap, which is what's kept fiscal discipline in place in New South Wales over the past 12 years. So the biggest threat to our economy, the biggest threat to the state's finances is a Chris Minns Labor government supported by Mark Latham.
All right, I'll get to that in a second, but you're known as a factional power broker. Why haven't you been able to get more women as lower house candidates? Why couldn't you get Natalie Ward into Davidson, for example?
Well, our party is a diverse range of people representing diverse communities across New South Wales, and we're working hard to ensure that we deliver candidates that are going to fight to build a stronger economy and manage the state's finances responsibly. That's what every Liberal candidate has signed up for at this election, and that's what we'll be fighting for. And that stands in stark contrast to Chris Minns and Labor, who want to blow a giant black hole in the state's finances, trash the economy and hand over control of New South Wales to the unions. That's something that all Liberal candidates will be fighting against, and that's what's at stake at this election.
I wanted to ask you about this new policy, the Super Fund for Kids. Why should the citizens of New South Wales entrust the government to hang on to their money for that many years?
Well, this is about investing in the financial security of our children. We think that that's a good investment to make. And just as superannuation has provided a whole generation of Australians with financial security at the end of their careers, we think it's appropriate that we should be making the policies that will provide the next generation of Australians with financial security as they start their careers. That's exactly what this policy is all about, giving our kids financial security to build a better life for themselves as they grow older. We're enabling parents, carers and grandparents to contribute to supporting their kids and their financial future so that they can build a better lives for themselves. That's what a coalition government is about, and that's what this coalition government's about.
Matt Kean, the former Howard Government Minister Peter McGauran on a panel on this show yesterday described this as terrible policy but good politics. What do you say to that?
Well, I disagree. Investing in our kids and their futures will pay dividends down the track. We know that by ensuring that our kids get a great education means that they'll be able to earn higher incomes and contribute more to our economy. We know that investing in our kids and giving them the opportunity of home ownership gives them a chance to own their very own slice of Australia, that great piece of the Australian dream. That's what this policy is about, helping kids get into the property market and helping kids get a great education so that they can realise their potential. And I can't think of anything more that governments should be doing than giving our kids the best start in life. And that's what this policy does. And it can only be delivered because we manage the state's finances responsibly and we grow a strong economy. And that's the clear choice that the voters of New South Wales have at this election. A government that wants to invest in our kids, giving them a brighter future while still managing the economy responsibly and managing the state's finances strongly, versus a Chris Minns Labor Party who has no plans, no policies and no ideas, are a risk to the economy and are a risk to New South Wales.
All right, Dominic Perrottet's announcement the other day, no more privatisations. Hasn't privatisations been the golden ticket to you building all the infrastructure that you have?
Well, clearly asset recycling has played a key role in delivering vital infrastructure here in New South Wales. It's helped build roads, metros, schools and hospitals across the state.
So why is Dominic Perrottet opposing it
today than we were?
So why is Dominic Perrottet opposing it now?
Because we're taking a new plan. Well, he's not. It's just the circumstances have changed and the policy we're taking to this election is no more asset recycling. So the Premier's been very clear about that. And what we're saying is that you vote for the coalition government, you're voting for the management of a strong economy and strong financial management. That's how you deliver vital infrastructure and services. And that's our plan over the next 4 years, because we've got a long-term economic plan. And again, our policies will be delivered
Mr. Kean,
because we do
frankly,
have that track record and delivering for the economy.
It looks like your leader, who is pretty pro-privatisation, panicked in the face of some comments by his backbenchers in the Labor scare campaign on privatisation, didn't he?
No, that's not the case. The government has clearly set out its plans as to how it will build the $116 billion worth of infrastructure that we've got in the pipeline, extensions to the Southwest Metro, to the Sydney Harbour Metro, roads, schools and infrastructure. We've set out how we're going to pay for that clearly in the budget papers. And what we're seeing from Chris Minns is his plan to pay for infrastructure either by cutting infrastructure, which will send the state backwards, or he said that he will squeeze our state-owned corporations Australians harder for their dividends. That means a huge increase in people's water bills, a huge increase in people's electricity bills at a time they can least afford it. So Chris Minns is being very tricky here. He's saying that he's going to cut infrastructure, or he's going to build infrastructure by increasing the dividends out of our state-owned corporations. That means higher water bills and higher electricity bills, and that's a bill that New South Wales can't afford.
I wanted the bill that they can't afford. I think I've heard that one before, Matt Kean. So what do you make of Chris Minns' comments on this show yesterday on the wages cap? He was suggesting 4 to 5% or more pay rises for public servants is possible. How much would that cost?
Well, billions of dollars, Andrew. We know that by removing the wages cap here in New South Wales, you're removing the key thing that's keeping spending under control. Wages and salaries account for 40% of the state's budget, around $47 billion every year. So removing the wages cap, that will see salaries and wages blow out. That will come at the expense of services and infrastructure. We know that by linking wages to inflation, giving public servants a real wage rise, which Chris Minns has said he's going to do, will punch an $8.6 billion black hole in the budget. So Chris Minns needs to come out and explain what services he's going to slash, what projects he's going to cut, what taxes he's going to raise. Otherwise, it's just another uncosted election promise that's going to have to be paid for by the ratepayers and taxpayers of New South Wales.
All right. Just finally, we've seen some wins for South Australia and Western Australia in this AUKUS submarine deal announced today, but no certainty at all about what Scott Morrison promised, an East Coast submarine base. Would you like to see one at Port Kembla? Are you concerned it might not happen?
I certainly would like to see the submarines based at Port Kembla. I think that would be a huge shot in the arm for the Illawarra and the entire region. It's a great spot to do it. Obviously, they've got to work through the details, but let's be very clear, the AUKUS deal is a great deal for our country, and it wouldn't have happened without the Liberals and Nationals at the federal level. This was led by people like Peter Dutton, who has been an outstanding leader when it comes to our nation's security, and because of this deal, Australia will be secure into the years ahead against a backdrop of global uncertainty, and that is the legacy of people like Peter Dutton and the Liberals and Nationals, and it's something we should be very proud of.
I noticed you didn't mention Scott Morrison there. Wasn't it his idea?
Well, Scott Morrison, Peter Dutton, the Liberals and Nationals are the ones responsible for this great outcome for our nation. Our country will be more secure because of the leadership of Scott Morrison, Peter Dutton and the Liberals and Nations, and that shouldn't be forgotten with today's announcement.